Hola, amiguis. Welcome to Listen Mija, the podcast where three Latinas at different stages of life share real stories, real laughs, and a whole lot of cultura. Whether you're here for chisme, sabiduría, or just a good chat, you've got a seat at our table. Let's get into it. I'm Jenny V.
I'm the non-Jenny. I'm Stella.
And I'm Janelle.
Not to be confused with J-Lo. No.
I'm just Jenny from the block. Don't be fooled. I don't got. All right. Let's get into it.
Well, today we wanted to talk about relationships with ourselves, like our cultural implications that impact us with our relationships. How as Latina, we're taught to put everyone first before us. Even in society today, it's always putting everyone before you. If you're a mom, you have to put everyone. If you are going to the gym, you're looked at as selfish. If you're going out with your friends, you're looked at as being very self-centered and narcissistic because you're spending time on yourself instead of with your family or kids or significant other. Today, we wanted to celebrate relationships with ourselves, talk about it, and how are we going to break this mold in the future for our daughters, for our children?
Yes. So I have a lot to say about this episode. I took a lot of notes. I shared them with Jenny and Stella. I found some really good articles that we could talk about. But I think this is something that hits really close to home for me. It's something that I'm actively working on in therapy. I'm actively working on in my relationship. It's actually a hiccup in my relationship, self-care, and my inability to stop and actually put myself first, and how that can negatively impact me, especially with my autoimmune disease. But I think before we even jump into all of that stuff, I think it might be important to kind of explain what do we see as a relationship with ourselves? What do we consider a relationship? So when I think about a relationship, I think that in general, as women, we tend to view it as a partnership. It's built on trust, mutual respect, and some sort of emotional and physical connection, obviously. But when we look at relationships with ourselves, especially as Latinas, I think we have this tendency to not really think about it. And when I look at it now, though, especially now that I've gone through therapy, I see it as a journey when it comes to self-awareness, self-love, and personal growth. And obviously, as women, we want to strive for kind of a balance between all of these things, as well as a balance between independence and connection with the people in our lives. And often when I think about having a relationship with myself, I think about prioritizing my well-being, and it's something that I have trouble doing. I think about the goals that I have and that they're just as important in terms of my personal goals as they would be with the goals that I have for my family and my relationship and my children. And then also happiness in terms of nurturing my bond with myself, but also with other people. And that's not necessarily directly within my family, but it could be friendships like you guys. And I think all of that could help enrich the relationship that I then will have with my family, because I'm nurturing that, and then I can come back refreshed and connect with other people in my life. And also I think too, being able to self-reflect, give ourselves that self-care, and build a really strong sense of identity is really important too. I think as mothers, that's a really big thing that we all struggle with, because often, especially in the early years, we get so wound up in the identity of being mom. I feel like I'm doing that again with my toddler. I'm in mom mode right now, and that can make me forget that, yes, outside of being this important person in my kid's life, I'm also important to myself, and what are the things that I need and I want and that I can experience. And I feel like we often as Latinas have trouble building that up because of the issue within a lot of our families where we tend to focus on others. We're brought up to focus on the family. Familia is first. Even if that means putting your needs on the back burner. And I don't think that's healthy. But yeah, I had a lot to think about when I was writing notes for this episode.
How about you, Jen?
I definitely agree with a lot with what Jenny is saying. And I was just listening to another podcast interview, that kind of, as I was reading through the comments, like we forget that women are more than just mothers, and identity is like a big aspect of it too. I think we get so caught up in like the routine too, that it's so structured to just you being a mom that there's really no time for yourself. There was a time in my life where I was definitely super focused on myself, but this was during a time when like I didn't have a second child and I didn't have a partner, and I was really focused on like my health and wellness. That time compared to like where I'm at now, it's like so hard to even get back to what I was at that time. Whether it was exercising, journaling, meditating, even if it was church, like all that stuff has now been all kind of put on the back burner because you're just always like in fight or flight, and in a structure, in some sort of agenda, because the daily is super important. It's not even that we're necessarily taught. It's more like you see the example like of our own mothers sacrificing their own well-being for everybody else, for people that don't even deserve it. And this is kind of where like boundaries come into play too. But it's almost like we're reprimanded too. Like we're reprimanded for setting up boundaries instead of just having undying loyalty to everybody, no matter how much they hurt us. And that's definitely something that I've tried to break with family members. You grow up learning blood is thicker than water, but there's also your chosen family. When I got to that point in my life where I had a chosen family, unlearning all of that blood is thicker than water bullshit is actually really difficult, because you're just not wired that way. And it's certainly a cultural thing. Like in the diverse dance company that I was in, you kind of see how that differs from person to person. Yeah, I think learning what boundaries looks like for anybody is really important. So in this part of my life, I'm not fully aware of what a relationship with yourself kind of looks like. That you do have to take time for yourself. That's also something that I've worked on in therapy. Self-care can also just look like delegating stuff out to people, so that you're not the only one carrying the burden of everything. It could also look like just vocalizing when you're just burnt out to the bone. I've also learned with my late ADHD diagnosis that a lot of it is because of that too. I've just been masking so much of just carrying the weight of everything that's going on that you realize, as I've learned more about my diagnosis, that's just how I operate. It's almost structured that way for your brain to be I'm just going to do it myself because it's less stressful that way. Meanwhile, it's still exhausting the hell out of me. Yeah, that's also kind of been a bit of a eye-opener since I've got that diagnosis, what that's going to look like, having more of a relationship with myself and understanding how my brain is wired, so that way I can set up those boundaries but also take time out for myself too.
That's great. I hope there's other people in my boat. For me though, how do I see the relationship, with ourselves? I'm still getting to know me. I know at my age, older, I'm still getting to know me. Because sometimes I stop and think, my kids are older. Lenny's going to go to college, the end of next year. And I'm like, what else am I other than Lenny and Carter's mom? Who else am I? What am I? What identifies me? So I'm getting to know myself and build a relationship with myself. So I'm in that beginner process of doing that. I just learned recently that I like to cook. I mean, this is me just learning, building a relationship with myself. So I'm doing that as a priority. I'm spending time on that, spending time with myself. I know people are looking at me oh, she has the kids 50% of their time. She's lonely 50% of the time. No, I'm not. During that time, I'm spending time with myself. I'm building a relationship with myself, and I'm getting to know me. It's like meeting a new person. It's kind of cool. It's kind of growing. And I think a lot of this is also, I am a little newer in the divorce market here, but I'm getting to know who I am. I'm learning who I am after all these years, and I'm starting to realize I can do this. I'm meeting myself. I'm going to build on myself, and I'm going to put myself first for once. I know, Jenny, you mentioned of our moms, reflecting that, not making themselves a priority, and us seeing that. Do you think we don't make ourselves a priority because of our moms, what we were raised seeing? What do you guys think?
This hilariously enough, this has kind of come up in a weird way. So my mom, I saw her bend over backwards for so many people, in our family, including my dad, who was kind of emotionally abusive. Lately, the conversation has been about me because there's a concern about me. Like, we're worried about you. Like, are you taking vitamins? Are you sure that they're natural? Are you getting enough rest? Make sure you have, so-and-so helping you out or whatever. And you're like, okay, but is this stress not natural? Like, were you not going through this at this time of your life, like when you were raising kids too? So, like, as much as I appreciate that, my mom and my aunt, they live together, have like this concern about me and how much is on my plate. It's almost like they forget, like, this is kind of just also the way life is too. Like, so, like, none of this should be new, right? Like, especially after I watched my mom go through the tumultuous marriage that she was in, and like watch her like do everything like for everyone, whether it was me, myself and my brother, or her brothers and sisters, or my dad, like she was just all over the place. And I know she was sacrificing herself a lot, and I know she was in pain a lot. Like I saw her cry a lot, I saw her hide so that she wouldn't show emotion. The way that it's flipped to me, I almost wish she didn't have as much as a concern for me, because again, this is life. Like we're just kind of powering through it. And I know she understands, even though I'm not necessarily in the kind of circumstances that she was in at this part of her life. I like hate that it's always the subject though. Like, are you taking care of yourself? Are you eating? Did you get enough rest? Like, you're just like, Jesus Christ, like, let it go. But also because I don't know what that looks like. I don't totally know what full-bodied rest looks like anymore, because that's life at the moment. So what about you, Jen?
I think we learn through example. And I think, too, with my mom at least, a lot of her coping skills that weren't necessarily positive were something that I ended up implementing myself. So my mom was a single mom. She went through tumultuous relationships as well, some very abusive, and she would sacrifice, and I would get angry because I'm like, these people don't deserve you. But she would throw herself into work. She worked a ton. We were totally latchkey kids, me and my brother. And I think about that as I got older, and I was like, oh, I started using work as a coping mechanism as well. And I think a lot of us, especially millennials, because it's such a necessity for us to have more than one job, we do that inherently. Like, it's a cultural norm now. We have to work more than one job to make it through, paying bills and surviving and taking care of our kids. But that was definitely one way my mom, she self-sacrificed, was by working a lot. And I saw myself doing that for a very long time until I got sick and I couldn't do it anymore. But I definitely think that she would put others above her all the time, whether it was my family, extended family, my grandma, up until the point that she passed away, me and my brother, and she would self-sacrifice. And then, and Mommy, if you're listening, I love you. It's just how it was back then. And I understand now that not just guilt, but like the resentment of being the only person doing everything, and then the lashing out, right? And as a teenager and as a kid, you're like, what the hell? Like, why are you in such a bad mood all the time? And now as an adult, I realized, I was like, because she was fucking overburdened. She was doing everything by herself. It was hard. How else was she supposed to control things than by keeping the house clean or like overworking herself, and then feeling resentment because she didn't feel like anyone was there to help, let alone her kids, I can see that happening to me sometimes too, and I have to stop myself and be like, okay, I need help. Part of having a strong relationship with myself is trusting myself enough that I'm willing to ask for the help when I need it, because my mom didn't ask for the help. And instead it negatively impacted her health. It negatively impacted her mental health. It impacted our relationships. And I don't want that for me and my kids. And it's something that I have to actively work through, because I see myself repeating some of those habits, even though I know better now. But I think it's just such an inherent thing that we saw, and we have to actively disengage to change our perspective and to change the way we take action in our life to not do those things. So yeah, I agree. I think that we learned a lot of that from seeing our families, but then also I think inherently it's like a cultural thing. We're brought up as Latinas to be self-sacrificial and to take up as little space as possible, right? There's so much machismo in our culture sometimes that you're just, I'm a woman, I need to be in the kitchen, I need to be taking care of the kids, and oh, my hopes and dreams, those don't count. That's for, later, maybe one day. And I don't think that's fair. And it's frustrating, but I definitely think that we'll create change if we keep actively trying to adjust our perspective on those things. And it's hard to stop those cycles. But I think what we do and what we're doing personally, especially with therapy and talking about it on things like the podcast and with each other, I think that's going to help us in the long run.
I also think, though, as women, like, growing up in Latin households like that, like, there's a lot of mixed signals generationally. Like, they want us to build a family. They want us to find a good husband. But they also want us to go to college, and they also want us to get a good job. So because that's why they sacrifice to come here, right? So the expectation is always high, especially for women, like especially for Latinas. Like you're going to college, you're going to get a good job, but you're also going to get a husband and you're going to have kids. So the expectation is you do all of these things while maintaining a home too.
Oh God, you do it all.
Right. But, like, how are we supposed to, like, delegate the mental load? Like, the physical load of it is obviously hard, right? Like, but the mental load of it still sticks. Like, it still is in your brain because you're constantly worried about something. And if you're someone like me that suffers from anxiety, it's like there's always another thing and another thing that you have to worry about. Where do we begin, like, as humans, as people? As equals? Like, where do we even start? Like, no wonder we have so many identity issues.
Yeah, we're literally like the project managers of life in our families. And it's not just your immediate family, like with your kids and your partner, but even I feel like an extended family, especially if you're like, I'm the oldest cousin, I'm the firstborn. So I'm the one that everybody calls with problems or computer things or so-and-so needs help with this and I don't know, or we need a resume.
Like, you're just, like, automatically on it, too. Like, you have this function that you just, like, I'm on it. Like, here's this resource. Try and look into this. See if this helps. Before anybody even gets a chance to ask. Jen, that's you.
So I'm telling you, project manager of life.
Functioning that way.
But also, too, what I think is interesting, when I was doing research on this, so there's in the Latino communities, there's this thing called, and I didn't even know about this, but I understand the idea. I didn't know there was even a word for it. So familisimo, like, so this value of close-knit family ties and the prioritization of family needs and collective well-being. So, like, the whole over individual desires. And I was like, I didn't know there was a word for it. But I understand how that goes because that's like how our families are, especially like they're saying with the project management. Like, I'm the person they call, we need help with our taxes. Oh, okay. I got you. So I feel like, though, that creates tension when you're trying to balance prioritizing yourself and self-care and a relationship with yourself when it comes to this sense of duty, like the quote-unquote obligations that we have to our family. And I think that's really, really hard to, like, come to terms with.
Agree. I know we're talking about, like, being Latina, how that culturally impacts us, you know, project manager of life with our family. How does it impact us with relationships, like romantic ones? How do you guys feel it impacts you? Again, I feel like it kind of sets us up for putting the guy first. Which is, you know, we just talked about the machismo, like that.
Okay, so online, for the chronically online person I am, there's always these memes that I see or Instagram or TikToks where, like, oh, I'm taking care of my man first, and they're, like, putting the plate of dinner for him first. And I was thinking about that. I was like, I don't do that. But also with his schedule, he doesn't eat dinner with us. I'm busy taking care of the kids. And then I think about it, I was like, no, I should be eating first and then feeding everybody else. Like,
put your own mask on first type of deal.
Yeah. And we don't do that. Like, but that cultural implication is like, oh, the man is first. Or there's the Latina mom who, I think she might be Mexican or Colombiana. I don't remember which one it was. But the son's always asking her, like, Mommy, yes, Mommy, what are you making for Papi? Like, what is all that? Can I have some of that?
Mother, what you make?
Chicharrones para tu papá. Y también tortilla con miel, con honey. Y también le tengo su chela, mira.
Damn, girl.
Y su limoncito. Porque ahorita viene a hacer un mandado.
Why you do this for him?
Porque así enamoré a tu papá yo.
By making them food?
Yes. Y también porque me dio chorizo al lime mayo.
What the fuck?
¿Tú piensas que le estoy dando esto por gratis? Él tiene que darme el pao pao.
She's like, Of course I make it for him because he gave me the good last night.
Oh my God. Poor kid.
No way. And if he didn't, then he doesn't get any of this.
Wow.
Cracking up.
That would never happen like with our parents. No way.
No.
That
no. There's definitely like a Gen Z kid and his mom's younger. And I was just cracking up. I was like, oh my God, I have to find it. I'll send you guys the links. But there's so many of them. She cracks me up. But the food she's making looks bomb. Like, I want that.
It's usually like for our families, it's not just the husband that gets his food first, it's the son.
Yeah,
also
the son, always.
It's usually like the youngest too, but it's a son that gets his plate first too.
Right? The Latina with her son, remember? Like, even growing up, if you guys, I think you guys have brothers, like, they always put the son first. Like, my brother instilled apple in my mom's eyes. I'm like, what the heck? I am the oldest. Just like you guys. Like, I am the oldest. I went to school first. I did all this. Nope. He's the apple of her eye. It's always, mijo, mijo. What about us? We're like literally in the garbage can. We don't put ourselves first because of our, society, because of our culture. And then our moms don't even put us first. Come on.
I think with my mom now that I'm older and we're older, like she realizes that. And she's like, oh, Jenny, you're the one that's going to take care of me when I'm old. So I need to take care of you now. Because I love my brother, but he moved away. He's far away now. So, like, he's halfway across the country. But yeah, definitely. It was always and that was a tension we had growing up. I was the oldest, so I had the highest expectations. But also, me and my brother were super close, and I took care of him for a lot of growing up because, like, my mom, like I said, my mom was working so much. So they literally, when he was a baby, used to call me Mommy Jenny. So, like, but I think about that, it's like, but at the same time, I'm like, that's a parentified ass kid, and I should have been taking care of your babies. Like, you should have. But that, again, the obligation, the implication of being the oldest, the expectations that are put on females in some of these families, it's definitely something that plays into it. And I think it does also create, when it comes to relationship, so there's this pressure, right, on us to find a partner who shares our cultural values, right, and who can integrate well within our family because of a lot of these ideas. But I feel like it could be really challenging because our family always wants to be involved. Everyone has an opinion on something. The expectations of what your life should be like or the decisions you should make. And what Jenny was saying earlier about boundaries, I think that's a big one, is creating boundaries within relationships, because that's you and your partner. What does your extended family have? Like, why do they have to have an input on something that impacts your lives? And I think that's a big thing, too, within our culture.
I think there's a fair amount of guilt that comes with that, too, though, setting up boundaries. Like, even within, like, extended Hispanic families. Like, so my partner's family is also Hispanic, too, but, like, because they're much larger family, there might not be as many boundaries. Like, everybody's just always involved in each other's lives to some degree. But because I come from, like, a smaller family, I'm not used to having people be so involved. So, like, there's a guilt that comes also with setting up boundaries with the other side of the family, right? Because you already get reprimanded already, like, for setting up boundaries within your own. When you start extending that out further and further, there's still, like, this guilt that happens because culturally, like, it's offensive. Realizing as you grow up, like, how you actually want your children to be able to vocalize, like, when they're not comfortable, too. So, yeah, there's the guilt really sucks. I mean, forget mom guilt already. Put the guilt on top of it of setting boundaries.
So much guilt, right? But I agree. Like, it's always that question. Are you seeing someone, right? Like, you have to get married. Kind of like my big fat Greek wedding. Remember seeing that? You have to get married.
She won't go. It's like she don't want to get married.
You have to have the baby. You have to do this. There's just so much expectations that we forget that we're human, and we forget that we have to take care of ourselves. Put ourselves out get ourselves a spa once in a while. Like, take care of yourself, because there's so much on us.
It's also because we see that as being neglectful, right? We're taught that we're neglecting our family, we're neglecting our societal obligations. I think that we feel this guilt because of that. And then that like creates that tension between, can I take care of myself? Can I follow my dreams? Can I pursue my goals? But then am I doing that at the expense of these other important people in our life? But with that being said, I think that the younger generation of Latinas, whether, that's us or the Gen Zers, I think that they're prioritizing themselves and they realize that that's really important and essential for their own well-being and for their personal growth.
I feel like that, yeah. So I know we talked about the traditional view of success in Latin families. Like, how is that impacting us? I know you guys mentioned, like, we take some time to ourselves. That makes us neglect others, right? Do you have that guilt when you guys do that? I know I do all the time.
Yes.
Like, right? Like, I am faced right now with, okay, I am like so in love right now. I'm happy. He's across the country. Eventually, one day I'm going to have to move. I have the kids here with their dad. If I go pursue my love, my passion, am I neglecting the kids? They're going to look down on me. It's like all of this impact. It's so much stress on a person. Yeah. I just want to hear your thoughts on it and stuff like that.
I think that in some of our families, like this traditional perspective of success prioritizes marriage, having kids, fulfilling family obligations. But like Jenny said too earlier, it's like they still add this additional thing, especially on us first gens or oldest daughters, like, oh, but you also have to go to college and you have to get a good corporate job and you have to make money. But there's still that really, really big push on those traditional perspectives of kids, marriage. And I think that could limit our ability in terms of our career aspirations and our personal freedom, right? I think back, like, I had my oldest daughter, really early on, and I don't think I would change it for the world. My kid made me a much more responsible, like, person. She changed my life. But I think back, like, if I never had a kid when I was 21, 22, what would that have done for me? Would I have moved to New York? Would I have gone to California? Would I have pursued different careers or gone elsewhere to see what, my degrees could get me? That definitely makes an impact. But instead, I had a baby, I got married. But a lot of that made me more responsible. So I worked harder. I did more. And because I had my daughter, and I had these aspirations that I didn't want her to ever feel limited, that it made me push myself harder because I knew that I wasn't just working for myself anymore, I was working for her. But I definitely do think that sometimes it can negatively impact our experiences in life because there's such a front on get married, have kids, yes, pursue your career, but then you don't realize that as much as we hope the world would be supportive of mothers in America, that's just not the case. It's harder for us because we don't have childcare. We don't have additional supports. They look down on you if you end up having, a baby when you're in the height of your corporate career, which is bullshit because I feel like moms are some of the best employees. We have to work twice as hard. We have to get more done in less time. And again, because we're moms, we are project managers of life. So project management at work is nothing. But yeah, there's a lot that goes into that.
And we're just naturally good at multitasking. But I agree with you, Jen. I think I had my oldest when I was 23. At the time, I probably would have ended up sticking with the dance company that I was in, even though at the time it was not working out for me anymore. So it was really messy with my mental health. But it forced me to become more responsible because I wasn't any longer just working for me. I was working for this kid. It does impact some of the decisions that you make, but it's almost and at the time I was a single mom, right? So it's interesting that not only was I worried or concerned about my kid being okay or my kid understanding how much we had to move or if I had to move across country to pursue the job that I wanted to do. It's almost you were worried about disappointing the whole family too, as a single parent, and this is probably just my anxiety, honestly. I always worry about what everybody else would say about how I was handling my life as a single parent, but you're just constantly making impossible decisions day by day. And it makes you look selfish. At the time, I was trying to pursue a bachelor's degree, and my kid was in elementary school still at the time. But again, it's all impossible decisions that you have to make on a daily basis. Pursuing a degree is not cheap. That takes it out of the mouth of myself and my kid. I was lucky enough fortunate enough to have like family to help support and take care of my oldest, like at the time, so that I could complete my degree. But, there's just this worry that, since I didn't go the traditional route of get your degree first, then get married, then have kids, it's, now you're going all over the place. You're kind of not following the path that you're supposed to take. And that's both cultural and societal. So there's always a concern. And like I mentioned already, it's the guilt. It's the guilt that you're just not making the right decision all the time. I think it just negatively impacts us in the fact that there's almost no winning. There's no winning for us. There's just one bad decision after the next. And whatever it looks like from the outside is just going to end up being the general opinion. However that looks like with Latino family members, whatever she's in, just coming up with gossip and just coming up with a bunch of stupid ass stories about who you are and how you handle your kids and your life altogether. That's just where we're at.
Exactly. And talking about paths, at least we have paths, right? We didn't do it the whatever correct way they say, but it is our way. And in the end, we still reach the same objective, right? Yeah. You still got your degree. You still did this. You still got a home. You still have a job, a corporate job. We still did it. It was just a little different of a path. And no one should look down on that because you still achieved something that many others can't. So we have to be proud of ourselves. And that's where the self-care comes. We have to look at ourselves sometimes and be like, damn, girl, you did it. You did it. Look at this badass bitch. You did it. You were a mom at a young age. You got your degree. You got another degree. You got careers while juggling babies, while juggling baby daddy or baby daddies. You did it all.
From the outside, is that really the accomplishment, or is it just, thank God for friends, right, that continuously cheer you on and support you. But there's always going to be those family members that are still going to just find something to shit on.
Yeah.
Oh my God, because they're so mad at themselves.
Yeah.
So they need a humor.
Yeah. And I think what you're touching on, Stella, too, is this idea of personal freedom, right? So we often feel that our freedoms can be limited because of those expectations. But I think you make a good point that we're actually trying to take that back by going a different route.
Yeah.
And even though our choices might conflict with what our family's expectations are, we're still doing it. And we're doing it in a way that is going to hopefully benefit us despite those disagreements. And in the long run, I think that's going to be better for us in terms of our relationship with ourselves, our relationship with our immediate family, in terms of a partnership and kids. And then also, I think that can help too with mental health, because it's if you ever feel so limited in your personal freedom that you feel you can't make any other decisions relating to your personal desires and your aspirations, that I feel that closes you off so much, and it could really impact anxiety, depression. And when you have that pressure to conform, I feel all of that leads to stress and feelings of being inadequate. But if you're going about it in a way that allows you to follow your own path, I think that really helps to overcome a lot of that stuff.
Exactly, 100%. So how are we breaking this generational cycle for our kids? How are we doing this? Because I don't want my kids feeling guilty about putting their self-needs first or putting themselves first. I don't want that. I don't want my daughter thinking, I get married and have kids and maybe a career, maybe my dream's on hold for a while. No! How are we going to break this? We want them to focus on themselves. We want them to be happy. My overall goal for my kids is just to be happy. Even if they're cat breeders, I don't care. As long as they're happy in what they do.
Cats are important. I think the way that it's kind of manifested in the way that I've raised, at least with my oldest, is by not parentifying her. Especially because, now that we've got a 5-year-old, we give her, she has responsibilities, right? But we don't give her the full responsibility of always taking care of her little sister. She also just does it naturally, without us having to ask, which is nice. But also I try to hold it back just a smidge. Don't worry about her. I'll take care of it. You just handle whatever it is you got to do. You be it. And I think that's probably the first way that I've done it. I am the youngest of a large family, an extended family too, because I have half brothers and half sisters. So I'm the youngest and the only child from this marriage. So I didn't have the same responsibilities as like an older sister Latina in a family. At the same time, like I still had like a lot of responsibility growing up, having to concern myself with the affairs of my parents, like you know, having to take care of their paperwork or interpreting something for them so that they understood. That's just not the responsibility that my current, like my oldest child has at the moment, you know, and thank God, because she's able to still kind of have like the life of a kid. And also thank God she had some cousins too to kind of like help her out growing up, like to remember what it is to be a kid. So I think that's kind of the way that it's shown up in my life, is just by not parentifying my oldest at the moment.
100% agree with you, Jenny. I think that's like I feel like that's one of my biggest accomplishments, is that my kids can be kids. They don't have to be the way I was when I was younger. They're not parentified children. Obviously, my oldest, you could tell that 100%. She's in her own little world. But I also think too, therapy, right? I'm actively learning about myself and finding ways to heal my personal traumas so that I don't have to pass those traumas on down to my kids. Through therapy, I think I'm learning slowly, it's taking me some time, but I'm learning that I'm worthy of change. I'm worthy of creating generational change for myself, for my family. I do regular talk therapy, then Linda and I also do EMDR. It's just, I have to take it a bit at a time because EMDR is a lot for me. But that's how I'm breaking my generational cycles, those negative cycles, so that I can make healthier decisions, not based in trauma, and so that I can teach my kids to do better. And then the last bit I think too that I'm trying to do, and it's hard because I will tell you 100% I'm failing at this right now, and I'm trying really hard, focusing on self-care, right? So anything that we're doing purposefully in order to take care of like our mental, emotional, and physical health. I say physical health with not parentheses, with what are those air quotes? So we could practice self-care by what? Like getting adequate rest. So that's something I'm actively trying to do.
What's
but
that?
It's hard, right? I know. Yeah. So these are some tips for you guys too. We got to sleep enough, nourishing ourselves, whether that's eating a balanced diet or whatever, and then using better coping skills so that I can decompress throughout the day, because I have a tendency to hold anger, frustration, things like that. And through therapy, I'm learning to try and manage those things much better. Like I said, I'm not doing the best. I think all of those things can help make me, or help build a better relationship with myself, so that I can hopefully have better relationships with my family, with my kids, with my partner, and then they're seeing through example how they can live a healthier life. And that's what I think it is. It's the biggest accomplishment, is being able to set a different example for my kids than what my mom, you know, not that she did her best. And I don't ever want anyone to think I'm shitting on my mom. She's amazing. She did her best. But I'm setting a different example for my kids than she set for me. And she even says this too. It's like that's like her quote that she always tells me. She's like, the goal is for you guys to do better than I did, and then for your kids to do better than you did, and then your kids' kids to do better than your kids did. And I was like, yes, I love that. And that's like what the goal is.
Always. And therapy definitely just helped. Like I definitely dove in almost headfirst, like into my mental health journey because I knew that I was struggling. And like I had gone through postpartum depression with both pregnancies, and it was almost like the second time around, like I really couldn't even find myself again. Like it was a struggle. So I had to like really dig deep, and then I reached out to Linda. Shout out to Linda again. It's like Ken really wanted to like talk things out. And really most of my sessions with her is just me dumping on her. Like I just have to get off this shit off my chest, and it's just word vomiting. And like it helps in the sense that like I can't necessarily project all this bullshit onto everybody in my family. Managing the fact that like you do carry a lot, and I have to kind of expel this so that it doesn't weigh on me. So I'm not stuffing it like I usually do. Whether the coping mechanisms like meditating or breathing exercises, in my case it's medication, you know, to try and like help keep it at bay. And I hope like that my kids do see that too. Like, you know, this is kind of the way that I've taken a little bit more control over how I go about doing the daily and surviving the daily. Because sometimes there is surviving, right? Other days it's like you have really good days. Everybody's happy. We're enjoying each other's time and space and love and affection, etc. But, other days it's difficult. So I hope they see that, talking about how our mothers were examples of how we self-sacrifice all the time. So I hope that they see the example that we're setting of just prioritizing our mental health. Also, not lofty goals, but baby steps, right? I started to take some time out to read more. So I'm not on social media as often. So that was kind of a small little goal for me, right? It's me taking time out for myself, but also kind of letting my brain go to some other world, so that way I can kind of be in my own imagination. That has been really helpful for me too. Just a few minutes a day, just trying to read a couple chapters, and that's been helpful for me too. Since I got this dog, now I take her out for walks every once in a while. Little things. It doesn't have to be lofty, huge goals. I do take myself to the spa on occasion, but it is hard to find that kind of time. So going to the spa or going on a Eat, Pray, Love journey to friggin' Barcelona or something is not necessarily something on my checklist here.
We all gotta go to King's Spa together.
Right. Sometimes it's just going to King's Spa, just a few miles away, just to spend a day sweating it out. So
that is incredible, guys. I love that. We're going to break this generational cycle. I just don't want our kids falling into that. One thing I'm doing is making them more independent. I saw that my mom and generations before, were just holding on. My mom didn't want me going away for college, gave me a hard time about it. Me with my kids, I'm making it mandatory. I'm I don't care where you go. You're going to go and you're going to stay on campus. I want independence. I want them to live on their own. I want them to grow. And that is a great way for them to grow, is living away from me. So they're required to do that. Are you guys going to do that? I'm telling mine, okay, you're interested in, U of I. Okay, you're going to Urbana-Champaign, but you're going to stay on campus. There's no commuting. Either one of you, no commuting.
I mean, it's definitely not something that I've limited, because I know it's going to suck for me a little, my oldest goes far away.
My thought process is save money, because well, here's the thing. I moved out when I was 17. So I'm where do I find the in between what I did, which was I moved out and I had to pay my own bills and I was really young and that was really fucking hard. And my oldest who's I'm going to go and I want to leave. And I'm I want you to be independent, but at the same time, I know how hard it is and maybe you should be more financially responsible. So I'm in the middle with it, because I know what it's like to be on your own at a really young age. And I don't want her to feel oh, I'm kicking you out at 18. Goodbye. Peace. Have fun. See you later. But also know that it's also hard. So, but yeah, whatever she wants to do, I'll support. We'll see what happens.
I wanted to bring up something that I saw. I know we were talking about this a little bit earlier, offline. Selena Gomez, our Latina queen, is back with a new album. Amazing, by the way. I am addicted. I want to talk a little bit about her, because we're talking about making ourselves a priority, right? Going through it. She went through it with that Justin Bieber guy. How many years? So many years. Going
Plus
through
lupus.
trauma.
She was really sick too.
Yes, lupus, health, love, everything. And now she has this amazing album that's healing. I heard it's healing. It's you can feel her getting healed. And then this guy who freaking adores her. This is a person that went through that journey, did self-care and put themselves first. And in the end, look at her now. So I kind of wanted to bring that up and see what you guys thought about it. And by the way, her guy, Benny Blanco, is incredible. Anyone just watch his interviews online. That's a man. Mm-hmm. He talks about putting her first. He talks about what can I do to make her day better? What can I do to support her? I have not heard interviews like that from guys before. This is very rare.
Yeah. I think a lot of it, especially, I don't know if you are at this phase yet, Stella, I feel when you go through a divorce, maybe your relationship from the past, it didn't work out, but you learn from it so that you know what you want in the future and how you can do better in the next relationship. I think that's a big thing. I feel we go through these hardships so that we learn what we need and how we need to be loved, so that we can A, love ourselves better, and then B, be able to do better in that relationship where it's the long-term commitment, it's the one. And I feel she went through all of that trauma and she learned and she self-reflected on it. And I think that's why she's in a much more healthier place with herself and in that relationship.
Now imagine going through that though with a lot of public scrutiny too. she's still kind of doing this healing journey while, she's being pitted against another woman.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like being pro Selena means anti whoever.
Haley?
And yeah, I was going to say Haley Bieber, but we're not doing that. Like, why do we keep doing that though? Like, why can't her healing journey be herself? Like, be her.
Mm-hmm.
And it just sucks that, like, she is a public figure and that everything that she does is going to be under scrutiny. So, like, it's amazing that she can kind of go through that path. And now you have two, like, healed people kind of about to go on a journey of life together, which is incredible to witness, too. Obviously, we don't know, like, the full ins and outs of everything, but, like, having witnessed, like, her being as a child star, going through tumultuous relationship multiple times, like, she's human, like... We can't expect everybody to just have, like, the celebrity relationship that we always, like, fantasize about. She's showing us, like, what it's like to still go through it with a bit of grace, not perfectly, but as best as possible. And now she's found, like, this person that does respect her and wants to kind of fulfill her dreams as well as supporting her dreams, and you could tell that they kind of just do it for each other too. So
it's really cute. Can you imagine going through all that in public? Mm-hmm. Oh my God, I would have been going Britney Spears, shaving my head, just going ballistic. Like, I am just so happy we were never in the public eye. Can you imagine that? How do they do it? Like,
I don't want to be famous ever. No, thank you.
There was a point in my life where I did want to be famous. I wanted to be a child star because I loved the Mickey Mouse Club at Kids Incorporated.
And you're a talented dancer, and that is why.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, I'm actually so glad I didn't go through that life. Like already having had a glimpse of it as a dancer and performer, entertainer for quite a while, like, the glimpse of that was also just a little terrifying. Like, there's just so much going on. There's so much happening behind the scenes. There's a lot of cooks in the kitchen. Like, I can't imagine being a child growing up that way and then still coming out of it a decent human being.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Right?
There's a lot that goes into it, too. Like, my grandma, I don't know if I ever told you guys this, but my abuelita, she actually came to America from Puerto Rico to pursue singing. She was a singer, and she cut an album in the late 60s, maybe early 70s. I think it might have been early 70s. So her stage name was La Muñequita. And I love music, I love singing, but I never wanted to pursue it because of the history that my grandma had with the music industry in Chicago. Like, she was literally smoky clubs and bars and the lounge singer. That was my grandma. But with that came a lot of drug, alcohol abuse, and this really hard experience in terms of self-worth, your body, things like that, and trying to, like, balance pursuing her dreams of music and being a mom because she had three kids, and it was a lot. And I think back to that, and I was like, man, that's why I realize now as an adult, I'm like, I never wanted to pursue music because of what my grandma went through. And I love music, and my younger daughter is really a talented musician, and I want her, and that's something she wants to pursue, and I'm like, we're going to support her in any way possible. But, like, it's always in the back of my head. I'm like, okay, I got to tell you the stories of what grandma went through, and I'm more capable of protecting you, but you also have to be able to protect yourself. But yeah, that's why, like, fame completely terrified me because I saw what it did to my grandma. It left her a shell of a person, especially when she wasn't able, because people took advantage of her, so she wasn't able to fully pursue her dreams and build it beyond, that one album that she cut. And she's so talented.
Maybe
that's why fame scares me. Yeah, maybe one day.
But you can tell, too, like, going back to Selena and Benny, you could tell by her energy.
Yeah.
Like, how much has changed with her and how much has really developed for her, too. I'm actually really glad sometimes, like, to see in the comments people defending her, like, every time it talks about her body, like, it's unbelievable, by the way, that we have to keep doing this to female celebrities, but, like,
people are ridiculous. I'm sorry. They're ridiculous.
But you could just tell by, like, her energy, the way she carries herself, like, on a red carpet or in interviews, just, like, how different it is currently for her.
Yeah, she's taking care of herself. She's loving herself.
Yeah, she remembers who she is. And that's what I think we all need to remember, who we are. We have all these obstacles, cultural, implications on us.
That was something I learned in therapy, is just like how we continue to evolve. Like, do you really know yourself? Because we go through so many stages of life and we just continue to evolve with it. We're constantly changing. I think embracing that is also important. You don't always have to be the same person that you were 10, 15 years ago. Like, you can still grow.
But with Selena and Benny, she remembers who she was. It took her a while, but she remembers that she's freaking Selena Gomez.
Yeah, she's got like a makeup line. She's executive producing the shows that she's in. She like brought back the Wizards of Waverly Place with like a new generation or like a reboot show. Like, that girl's on business.
Seriously, like, do your thing. We just gotta take care of ourselves every day, and we gotta remember that we are a priority, because there's no one else like us in this world. One thing everyone should work on is don't hate yourself.
Yes.
I've been seeing this too much. People always putting themselves down. I see it on social media all the time. Put yourself first. Take care of yourself. There's no one else like you in this world. You are unique. You are beautiful. This is your world. You're a main character. So make it a damn good movie that you want to watch and be the main character of.
So you can join us next week. We are going to be talking about pop culture and inappropriate movie relationships and how that's probably impacted the way we go about relationships. Thanks for joining us. And that's all the chisme for now on Listen, Mija. We're so glad you joined us for the stories, the laughs, and all the real talk in between. No matter where life takes you, you'll always have a seat at our table. If you love the episode, make sure to like, subscribe, and leave a review. It helps us keep the conversation going and reach more of our comunidad. Until next time, cuídense, stay connected, hydrate babies, and we can't wait to catch up again soon. Nos vemos. Bye.
Bye.